As the ant searches through the blades of grass, finding its acorn, and as the winged eagle soars through the seas, so too, thousands of years ago, did your ancestor get with another ancestor to have their offspring get with other people, to then get with other people and other people and other people, to the point where we're finally here, you and I, and everyone around the world sitting down together to listen to the brand new Nightwish album. Let us all rejoice in Yesterwinde. Hello everybody and welcome to another album review / reaction. This is it. The big day has come. We've been waiting for years and years. It is brand new Nightwish. And I'm so happy that you guys could be here. I'm very happy that I could be joined by my friend Chris Parker.
That's me.
I'm Patrick Musilek. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, know that what we're going to do is listen to the entire album from front to back. We'll probably pause in between songs, discuss what we're hearing, talk about the mix, things like that. We don't tend to listen to or focus on lyrics as much, so don't expect that. I do think, Chris, I may pull up the lyrics as we're listening. So if you want to do that as well, you can, but I don't want that to let us distract. I've never done that while we're doing a reaction, and sure. I don't want it to distract. I want to focus on what we're hearing. Generally on this channel, we focus on music production stuff and different things like that, and we talk about it in real time over the music. So just be prepared for that. We're not going to just sit here in silence and listen to the music. If you want to do that yourself, and actually I should say this anyway, this should be the first thing we say in the video, please make sure you listen to this album on your own first. This is you can think of this almost like a movie commentary track, but just some schmucks who know nothing about anything doing a commentary over this album. That's what you can think of this as. And actually I've been thinking about calling our stuff, instead of reactions, album commentaries. However, I feel like that's a little pretentious because and also no one would know what that means, and reaction is just a word that people hashtag search for. So, you know, was that a cat?
It was my cat.
Oh, well, that's fine. Thank you.
She's very upset.
Chris, this is all about nature. It's all about humanity.
Perfect.
And nature.
Wild nature.
And the
natural
earth.
Cats.
And evolution and science and history and religion and everything just coming together to form a great big ball of stuff that I don't care about at all. That's what we're going to be hearing about. But like I said, I'm not a big fan of the lyrics and stuff. I shouldn't say that. It's not that I'm not a fan of the lyrics. I just don't particularly care for them on a first listen. I tend to not focus on lyrics, and Chris and I are the same in that regard. And so, like I said, don't.
And it's not even really a choice. Like, it's just not, the choice is focusing on them. To just listen to it, they are the thing that blow past me like a breeze, and I have to really work hard to hear what's being said for whatever reason. Oftentimes when we're listening to the vocals and when we're commenting on them, we're talking about their place in the mix and how they sound and overdubbing and different parts and things like that. So expect a lot of conversation about that. If you have been here on the channel before, whether you've been following us through our Metallica reactions or just other things, our Linkin Park video, which is doing really great, totally something we did on a whim and was not planned at all. And that's a real thing. I had someone comment on that video and was like,
"Oh, sure, you weren't planning to record this Linkin Park video, and you have your Nightwish thing in the back to try to get views from Nightwish fans."
I'm like, dude...
That could have been anything happening in front of
silly.
Anything, and that comment would just, cut out the old nouns and put in the new ones.
Yeah, it's totally ridiculous and silly. But anyway, go check out that. We reacted to their entire live performance at their announcement of their new album and the new singer, Emily Armstrong, and I was very excited because I think she sounds great, and I'm very excited for a new Nightwish album to be dropping on November 14th. Very excited for that.
You mean Linkin Park?
What did I say?
Nightwish.
Oh, well, Nightwish is here on
September
20th, which is what we are at currently. So it's like, yes, let's go. I also want to say, if you are someone who's been watching our Nightwish videos leading up to this, and I've said it from the very beginning of that video, our main purpose of doing the 3 Nightwish reactions was so we could kind of get our channel in the algorithms for Nightwish, so that when we do this reaction, this is the thing we were leading up to, hopefully we get put in the algorithms and this video gets watched by people if we do a good job and everybody likes it. So I have to say, just real quick, I'm not going to dwell on this. I apologize to everybody who is just absolutely shredding us to tiny little bits in the comments of all those Nightwish videos. It's all my fault that I talk too much, and I'm going to try not to do that as much here. However,
every time.
Yes. However, this is a format we're much more familiar and comfortable with, and so I'm excited to listen to this and discuss it the way we usually discuss albums and music here on the channel. So I hopefully we'll get to do one more reaction to Nightwish with all of those people we had. This most recent video we posted for Phantom of the Opera, I have several, like maybe I've seen 5 or 6 comments that are all like, it's obvious that people don't want to be listening to this, so don't force them to listen to any more, Patrick. And
Look
so
how
it's
long
like,
my arms look.
they do look long. And
I'm not high, I promise.
Your tattoos help it because they're like long. They go up your arm there on the.
I was just stretching and I was like, man, I look like a freak in this video.
Oh, I can do that too. I can lean back like this and I look like a Beetlejuice, the guy with the tiny head.
Yeah, I used to work with a lady that
body.
a friend of mine would always refer to her as that.
Oh no, that is not a good thing.
It was not a compliment. No.
Yeah, no.
She sucked.
So anyway, thank you very much for joining, whether you've been here for a while or this is a new video. I hope you can enjoy what we're doing. And so I will just say right away, all my videos, I try to have the audio in the video so that you can hear exactly what we're hearing. And I think Nightwish knows enough that they want to make this whole album available so that people can use it on their YouTube channels. I'm assuming it won't be ad sharing or revenue sharing, and that's fine. Like 99% of all bands we do on this channel do not share revenue, which we make nothing from most of these videos at all, almost nothing. In fact, the only maybe 2 out of 5 of the 300 some reaction videos we have on the channel, I think, there are only 5 videos that I've ever been able to do ad revenue sharing on, and 2 of those are the most recent Nightwish videos we just posted. So that's pretty great. And go check those out. Go watch those ads and get us some revenue.
Is that because they specifically allow that sort of thing?
Yep.
Yeah. By virtue of being like the most reacted to band ever.
Yeah. And so like Ghost Love Score is not. They want all the ad revenue from that because that is like their most reacted to song. And also we watched, that is from the official Nuclear Blast website and not the official Nightwish YouTube page.
Oh, okay. That makes
and
sense.
so I think the official stuff from the official Nightwish YouTube page, I believe, like Phantom of the Opera and we did I Want My Tears Back. Those were both, I think those were both from the official Nightwish page. Those were both ad sharing revenue, but it doesn't matter. We're not here for money. If we were, we would be doctors and lawyers and stuff, and we'd be screwing people out of their money.
At the very least, we would certainly be doing something different than this.
Yes.
For the amount of time that we've been doing this.
Yeah, and the amount of effort.
Here for money. We are confused about how everything works, if that's still the case.
Yes. So I'm going to try to put the audio in there so you can hear exactly what we're hearing. If I can't, because this video is so special and so important, I may try to cut it in half, rebounce the first half, which will take another 10 hours, and then upload that and see if that works, because sometimes it just works when you're doing several songs instead of a whole album. I don't understand it. I've tried many different ways to get around this, but we're going to record this as one big reaction. If it gets copywritten and blocked, the only way I wouldn't upload it this way is if it gets blocked worldwide. If it gets blocked worldwide, I may try cutting the video in half and uploading a half to see if it works. And if I can upload that, then I'll upload the other half and it'll be part 1 and part 2. And it'll just be like one big video. You'll have to cut from one to the other, but I'll have them in a playlist. It'll be very easy. And so if it works, though, you should be able to hear everything we're hearing, and I'm hoping and praying and assuming that that's the way it's going to be, so that's going to be the way it is. So, okay, Chris, we are here. I just want to talk a smidge about Nightwish before we get started. Chris is adjusting his awesome Final Fantasy thing. You want to bring that over and show it to us while I open my beverage?
Sure, why not?
Because I don't think you've talked about that in a video yet.
No. And
I'll bet people who like Nightwish are big fans of Uematsu, what's his name?
Uematsu, yeah.
Yeah,
probably.
and like the soundtracks from Final Fantasy.
So this is my Cloud from Rebirth, basically, one of the limit breaks he's got. But the thing that I've done here is I actually went in and I drilled holes inside, because the inside of this is actually hollow. It can't come off. He comes off. You can pull him off. But this is hollow, and I drilled holes into it, and then I added a bunch of LEDs to it, which I have been able to open this up now. So I added all these LEDs,
Nice.
yellow ones around the edge and white in the middle. And then I bought one of these plugs right here from an electronics store in town called Vetco. And the only bummer about this is that this top piece comes off. This is a separate piece, and you can tell because the light really stops pretty hard right there.
But that's all right, though.
But otherwise, I am really happy with how this turned out, especially having never done it before. So,
If you try that again in the future, what you should probably do is get lights that you can connect on your phone and control the brightness of. That way, for something like this, then you could turn it down so it's not like overexposed like that, and then the tip thing wouldn't be as noticeable.
Right, and I've been thinking,
but it looks fantastic.
The tip is like, the bottom piece is sort of, it's hollow, but it ends in like a cup. And then the tip sits inside of it like this. So they're both technically sealed. And I thought if I were to cut holes in the bottom of the tip piece on both ends, if it would pass through better. But I don't want to go tearing
quit
stuff
drilling
up.
holes in your awesome, precious figures. Don't do that.
Well, they need to make them do this thing that I've like
that you
make them with
clearly
lights.
want. Yeah, for sure. I've thought about doing stuff like that with some of my Godzilla stuff forever, but anyway, I think that's awesome. You also have another character as well that you did that with.
Yeah, my Tifa one. She's back over there on the shelf where she belongs.
She's the pink-haired one, or
she's the brown-haired one with the punchy.
Well, I
There's
tell
no
you,
pink hairs, but
I get what you're saying. There's no pink-haired girl in Final Fantasy VII.
Right. There's a regular like a brunette with that wears a lot of pink, but there's no pink-haired girl. No.
For fans who are people who are unaware, I've not been a fan of Final Fantasy ever. I've never played a Final Fantasy game, and Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth are definitely two that I would be the most interested in. And so if I ever start streaming games, Chris, that would be one. Yeah, that would be one to do. It takes me take me like 5 years to get through it because they're long games apparently. But okay, so Nightwish. Big fan of Nightwish here, people. That's me, not him. He enjoys stuff, but not generally.
I'm here, but I'm not here to say negative things about Nightwish because I don't want my house to burn down. So because they'll come. I saw what happened in the comments last time.
They will. They did. They sure did. I mean, we got several. You should shut your channel down right now. You're being very disrespectful to the band. How dare you? Stuff like that. We got lots of that. However, we did get a lot of views, and an overwhelming majority of people did not leave negative comments. So hopefully that means everyone was like, that was okay, at the very least. So anyway, this is my stack of Nightwish CDs. I have a couple doubles in there. I have like a Net solo album in there. I think After Forever's album's not in here. Flora's band before she was in Nightwish and before she started Revamp. So anyway, this is all this stuff. I've said in previous Nightwish videos that my 3 favorite Nightwish albums are Once, Imaginarum, and Dark Passion Play, and I would probably say in that order. It's really hard for me to tell whether or not I like Imaginarum or Once better, but every time I hear Once, I'm just like, man, this is a perfect masterpiece album. However, I don't think any songs on Imaginarum fade out.
That's good.
But there's 1 or 2, or maybe even 3 songs that fade out on Once. But Ghost Love Score is one of the greatest songs of all time. I've always thought that. It was my favorite song when I was in high school, back in like 2005 or so, the year after the album came out. I don't think I discovered it that year, but I probably did discover it when I was a senior. So probably within the first year it was out at some point. I did not know who Nightwish was before that. I discovered them because Nemo was on a soundtrack or some sort of a metal compilation that I bought, and so that probably came out before the album was released. So I don't know, but in any case, I absolutely love Once, and I'll show you, Chris. It's your favorite thing in the whole world that I show every video, and you just love to see multiple times.
Yes, of course.
Here's my Once vinyl from 2011, an original pressing copy.
I looked at that like twice.
We've looked at it in every single one of the videos, actually.
Yeah.
And just to clarify something I was talking about in a previous video, I was talking about a Grace Slick album that was a big influence, I think, on Tomas Holopainen. This is Grace Slick's album Dreams. If anyone that watches this video is even remotely interested in this, I would say please check this out. Not every song on here is like a symphonic song. There is some just sort of like 70s rock stuff on here, but it is the several songs that are on here, Dreams, I think, and El Diablo, and then Full Moon Man, which is about a werewolf, of course. And then maybe Garden of Man. But the songs are very long. They're very Nightwishy. And if you're unaware of who Grace Slick is, she was the female voice in Jefferson Starship and Jefferson Airplane.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. So
that's really
what's
nuts.
that White Rabbits song that they sang? That I think that's their biggest song.
I don't know.
Hey Google, what's the biggest Jefferson Airplane song?
On the website Rolling Stone.
Go ask Alice.
Don't you want somebody to love? Don't
interesting.
you need somebody to love? So that's Grace
not
Slick.
them.
That's Jefferson's Airplane, not Jefferson Starship.
Huh.
Jefferson Airplane and Jefferson Starship, as far as I know, are the same band, but they just kind of started doing like more psychedelic-y stuff with Jefferson Starship. And they were both making both bands at the same time. But then also they did, I'm pretty sure they did Go Ask Alice, that White Rabbit song. Like
Jefferson Starship and Airplane there are a few things in the world more confusing than that whole.
For sure. And I really like Grace Slick a lot. I love her voice. I have all of her solo albums on vinyl, actually. Her album Software from 1982 is a very early synth pop album. It's very cool, very different from the rest of her stuff. And then she has like a whole concept album that has to deal with classical music and stuff. Like she's a nut, but everyone in Jefferson Starship was like a total nut. So, and I'm not an expert on them by any means whatsoever, but I know I mentioned this in a previous video and I wanted to correct myself and say, this is the album you guys should go look up. Grace Slick, Dreams. It's on Spotify. It's wherever music is played. I highly recommend Nightwish fans check this out. Highly, highly recommend. That was the first vinyl record I ever bought on site without knowing who she was, and I listened to it, and it blew my mind. I'm really disappointed you can't really buy her albums on CD. I wish they would release... You can. They did release them at some point, but it's really hard to find them, and they're expensive. I wish they'd release one of those original album series collections of, like, 5 albums from a band or an artist's career all in one package for, like, $30, you know? I keep waiting for them to do that with her, but I don't think they're going to do that anymore because people don't manufacture CDs anymore, so it doesn't matter. So anyway.
The wallpaper for this has not been put back up.
Oh. Wait, no, wrong button. Oh, there it is, Yesterwynde. Good job, Chris. Good job. I'll try to cut that off and put it at the beginning before, well, whatever. Who cares? Probably won't even. We're here to do Yesterwynde by Nightwish. Everybody, wake up. And yes, thank you to the commenters who did say it's pronounced Yesterwynde as in winding a clock, not wind as in windmill. So
That made me like it less.
Oh, see, I think Yesterwynde is actually cooler. Because it has to do with the clock and time and everything, and the perfume of the timeless. If we watch the music video for that, I haven't watched it yet, but I reacted to the song on my channel here, so you can see that in our Nightwish playlist that I made. Everyone was saying the video is so cool, but it's about like the whole song and the video are about how thousands of years ago, like 2 people got together, and because that happened, there was a ripple effect, and you right now are sitting or standing or existing in your own space because of like thousands and millions and billions of decisions and things that had to happen in just the right order to get to the point where you are right now. And people really like that. It's kind of this sort of existential thing or something. I don't know if existential is the right word, but
It seems pretty close, yeah.
let me ask Chris, are you a fan of Richard Dawkins?
I have read one of his books, and I would say for the most part, I would say I'm more of a fan than not a fan.
Okay.
But he's... yeah, short answer, yes.
I think he is the person I'm thinking of, but I'm pretty sure that he's a big influence on Thomas and Nightwish, and they used a sample of one of his speeches or something in one of their songs on one of their albums a couple of years ago, and so that's the kind of like intellectual thinking that goes into like Nightwish stuff generally. So let's see what else. Oh, I do have to say, I want to point out, because I didn't show these last time, I do have the one live recording they made with Annette live in Hong Kong. I also have their 2 Blu-rays, Vehicle of Spirit and Showtime Storytime, which this is the Wacken show from 2015, is it, or 2013? The Wacken show. I think
Wacken?
Wacken.
I know.
I know you know. But I think it was from Wacken 2015. I could be wrong. But in any case, this is what the famous like Ghost Love Score performance that we reacted to and all their famous stuff is from. And then the Wembley show and the Tempura show in Buenos Aires is on this as well. So I have both of those Blu-ray sets. And then I also have I want to show their End of an Era DVD, which someone got mad at me because it wasn't the End of an Era tour. It was the like Once tour, and they called it something else. And then they were touring with the album once, and that was just what they called the End of an Era, the DVD, End of the Era DVD. So it wasn't the End of an Era tour. So okay,
man, you've got some real nitpicks going on with these people.
I do have Tarja's Act 1 live Blu-ray, which I totally forgot that I owned, and so now I'm excited to watch this again. I know I did watch it at one point. The surround sounds really great on this, but this is just like, it's acoustic stuff. It's her live. I don't think it has an orchestra with it, but it's live with multiple things. There's a bunch of bonus stuff on here, and this is the first stuff she released in 2012. I believe this is her first stuff she released. This goes with her first album she released, her solo album, after she was kicked out of the band. The last thing I just have to show off, because a couple people mentioned in the comments they didn't even know this was a thing. This is Nightwish's movie, Imaginarum, which you can see.
Not Imaginarium.
No, Imaginarum. So you can see I'm not full of crap there. It says Imaginarum by Nightwish. And it says a Stobe Harju, I'm probably not pronouncing that right, and Thomas Holopainen film. This is the sort of Christmas animated live action movie that I was talking about that was made by the music video director, the guy who directed all their music videos. For a long time, and this is the movie that they made together with their album Imaginarum. And so there's a second disc that comes with or actually the last track on Imaginarum is the end title sequence of this, where it's orchestral sort of like callbacks and stuff to songs from throughout the album, all just in like orchestra format, like end credits of a movie should be. And then there's also a scene in the movie where all the members of Nightwish are there. So there's like, it's really cool. It's a really interesting and neat movie. It's definitely not the greatest thing ever. The visuals are really interesting and cool, but it does kind of look like the quality of like maybe the best music video you've ever seen. It was made in 2012, which was right or the year after Imaginarum came out, I believe. So that's all that crazy Nightwish stuff I have, and I'm going to set it all on the ground for now because I don't want to get excited or very disappointed with this new album. And I do have like all the Nightwish stuff. You can see I got all this stuff here, including their first album, which I do have a reaction of on the channel, Annette's solo album. So I do have a lot of stuff, not everything, but a lot of stuff. So there's my Nightwish story. I've mentioned the ones I like the most. Now I have to just talk very briefly about the fact that since Floor joined this band, I have been slightly disappointed with the quality of the albums. Both...
You're in so much trouble.
Sonically, a little bit, and also, I just don't find the songwriting as appealing to me as much. And this is totally just a personal opinion thing, but I think that Endless Form's Most Beautiful does not sound sonically as good as any of the 3 albums that came before it. I think in some ways, I think the guitars sound really good and the drums sound good. The metal aspect of that album is maybe the best the metal part of Nightwish has ever sounded. But I think the orchestra and everything is kind of drowned out. That's there. And her vocals are a little low, but not too bad. And there is like a woofiness kind of to the whole thing that I don't like as very much. Mm-hmm. So I don't particularly care for the way that album is mixed as much. But we're still talking about like maybe in mix-wise, like I would say like a 7.5 to 8 instead of like the 10 I expect it to be. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
So still really good, but not as good in my opinion as their 3 perfect albums that came before it. And each of those albums sound different in their own ways too. And then I think Human Nature, their most recent album up until this one, sounds better. audio wise than Endless Form's Most Beautiful. And I think there are certain songs on that album that I like better. But since Floor joined, and when she joined officially, I think at the same time Troy joined as well. And they have been doing a lot more, and I talk about this a little bit in some of my other Nightwish videos here on the channel, so I'm not going to go into it too deep here, but they've been adding a lot more of that Celtic, sort of like maybe Gaelic, I'm not sure the exact terminology for this. They've been adding a little bit more of that, like all those handmade like wooden instruments that Troy plays, the fiddles, his uilleann pipes, the flutes, those kind of different instruments. There, there's been a lot of that, and then there's been a lot of like chanting vocals, and I don't particularly care for that style, that like infusing this sort of like Celtic stuff into Nightwish as much. Now they've always used bits and pieces of that. But with those 3 albums of theirs that are my favorite Nightwish albums, those albums are pretty much metal albums that feature just as much metal as they do like bombastic orchestra stuff. And it's more about classical sounding orchestral music, like big stuff. And there's also small quiet moments too. It's very dynamic albums, all 3 of those. Sounds much more cinematic, more movie-esque, and more just like bombastic, trailery music type stuff. Since then, I feel like Nightwish as a whole has gotten a few notches down with that. They brought those kind of things down, and they focus more on single instruments being featured in songs rather than a whole like 60-piece orchestra and a 100-piece choir. They'll be more intimate sounding with more fiddle and guitar and stuff, like that I Want You My Tears Back song, Chris, that we did. That with the dun 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 dun.
That was cool.
Right. I like that song a lot. That is cool. Mm-hmm. They've definitely leaned into that aspect of the music a lot more. And I feel like they haven't truly written, in my opinion, a super catchy song since Imaginarum. And that's probably the most egregious thing I could say here. And so I do love their song.
Dead Man Walking.
I do love their song Noise from Human Nature. I love that. I don't know what the song's called, but the one from like Floor that she wrote to her mother, the ballad on Endless Form's Most Beautiful. I love that song. There are definitely songs on both of those albums that I love, but overall, I would say the songwriting is not as interesting to me, and I find the vocal parts to be somewhat overly complex, to the point where it's almost like she is, and I don't know whether or not it's her writing some of the parts, or Thomas writing some of the parts, or them combining, or some's written by him, some's written by her. Like, it feels like it's almost a little like they're trying a little too hard to make stuff technical, and Floor is so amazing that she can do anything she wants, and so I think she definitely wants to push herself, and I don't necessarily care for that. Like that song from Human Two Nature, that's all like dun 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 dun, like that's the vocal rhythm, Chris. And so I go to all of those songs that they go to this, and then they do this, and I don't know this, that, like it's like
I don't know if I care for that.
Yeah, that was performed horrifically by me.
Sure, but I mean, if that's the rhythm, like that's tough
it's
to get into.
And it's very unique, and it's cool, but it's not. And it does kind of stay with you afterwards, but it's not like super pleasant to listen to. But I think that's kind of what they were going for with that song. And so it's like, you kind of got to take it and give it and whatever. Okay, so those are my opinions on that stuff. And so that's why maybe my anticipation for this album isn't as much as it could be. Now I have to say, I was very excited when I heard Perfume of the Timeless. That reaction to that single song is on the channel as well. It'll be in the Nightwish playlist. I loved the song, actually a lot more than a lot of people were liking it at the time when the reactions were just starting to happen. I liked the mix of the music a lot, but I felt that the vocals were very low in the mix. So, Chris, I think we have to brace ourselves for low in the mix vocals here. Maybe throughout the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So be prepared.
What we need to brace ourselves for is being hit by the car of any of the people watching this after you say that on the video during the song.
I don't want to let a few bad apples ruin the Nightwish Army though, because I'm a member of the Nightwish Army, and like like I said, when we're getting
I'm just a well-wisher, casual observer.
I know. When we're getting a lot of views on those videos, and so there's more comments, and there's bound to be more negative comments. But it would be nice if there was like 1 or 2 positive comments. But it's fine. It's fine. We recorded all of those videos in one session, so if we ever do sit down and do more, I'll take everyone's criticism to heart, and I'll try to adjust things. We'll pause the songs more. We're not going to pause the songs here, but we will pause in between tracks to discuss. So with that in mind, we're 30 minutes in. Let's get into this, Chris.
Yes.
I could spend 20 minutes trying to explain to you how important this is, but I think I've done a good enough job. Everybody watching this, you're probably a big Nightwish fan. You understand how important it is to get new Nightwish music. I have not heard any of these songs other than Perfume of the Timeless, and I was impressed with it, but I was disappointed Floor's vocals were so low in the chorus. And I had people in the comments of my video for that telling me,
she wanted it to sound like she was part of a chorus.
That's my.
Well, let me tell you what's going to make. It's going to rebuild all those bridges with those commenters.
My mocking,
using that.
that's clearly what the person was intending, but like we've listened to many albums, and I was listening to Endless Forms Most Beautiful just earlier, and there's a lot of places where it does sound like she's a part of a chorus. But Floor is also the lead singer of this band, and you should be able to hear her vocals like lead vocals, and at least when they're going to be there in the middle as their own track. So if you want choir vocals, make choir vocals. That's what Epica is known for. They're specific vocal parts. So there's definitely right ways to do it and wrong ways to do it. And I was unimpressed with how Perfume of the Timeless sounded at the time. I also know that this album will be released has been, I guess as of today, has been released in Dolby Atmos as well. So if we listen to this and I absolutely adore this whole album, I may chuck out the $40 or whatever to get this album in Dolby Atmos. It comes with the regular CD version, I believe, and then the Blu-ray disc as well. So
the thing that's interesting about Atmos, I just thought of this. Mm-hmm. Atmos is designed as object-based surround sound. So basically, like, instead of things just being like, this thing that's happening is just sort of behind me, or just like it's in front of me and I can see it there, but it's just over there. You get things that are very specific to, like, if you have something moving on the screen, it will follow it in a way that is complete witchcraft. And then once it leaves the screen, it will continue to follow in a very object-oriented way.
Right.
And that's the general application of Atmos when it comes to, like, movies. Mm-hmm. But I don't understand how you can have object-based Atmos mixes for music when you don't have anything to orient your object-based audio to. Like, you can't connect it to the hurdy-gurdy, because that's not... What are they doing, backflips on the stage? Like, that's not how this works.
Right.
But, and I mean, this is something that came up a little bit with the Peter Gabriel I.O. Atmos mix, where it is very much like some really neat stuff happens, for sure. And one thing that does seem to be true of the Atmos mixes is that you get a lot of extra space. And when things move around, like there's a lot of funky panning in the I.O. mix for Peter Gabriel. And it's like stuff is always doing things, and it's, you know, pretty discreet in that it makes small adjustments to where it lives, and you can follow it really a lot easier than I think you would normally be able to. But it's a really interesting thing to, like, want to attach music to something that is more so based in movement, like positional movement.
That's interesting. I would love to hear something in Dolby Atmos someday, but
I don't know if I told you this. I rewatched Gravity recently. Like in the last month or so. And I have only had my Atmos configuration for a little while. And really, in terms of height speakers, I just have 2 front channel height. They're not ceiling mounted, but they're right where the wall meets the ceiling, and they fire downward at an angle like this. And my receiver is such that I can either do 7.1 in a traditional surround configuration or 5.1.2 Atmos configuration. So if I use the front height channels, I can't use these rearmost speakers, but my side rears are still always engaged. But
okay,
I had forgotten that Gravity had an Atmos mix on it, and I watched it recently, and it blew my brains out.
Awesome.
I love that movie so much.
It's one of your all-time favorites.
And I've already seen it a bunch of times, And I watched it in Atmos, and it was a completely different experience. Like, it was really
awesome.
genuinely nuts. It was
Made you
nuts.
like it even more?
Yes, it really
that's
did.
great. That's cool.
It was wild.
I still have never seen it. So
Oh man, Fix Your Life.
I know. All right. Real quick before we get started, I want to say I know that they've released some like studio and like some documentary like behind the scenes making of this album. I have not listened to any or watched any of those videos. I know nothing about this album. So if I really like this album, I may do some reactions, just myself, looking at some of those videos or something, because I think that would be really interesting, especially if we have any questions about how some of the stuff was made. I'm not sure if they go deep into like the studio or not in this, but so yeah, this is also the first big album that they've made since they got to be their sort of like second wind of their career, becoming hugely popular. Chris, since the reaction stuff started happening.
Oh sure.
And then also. This is their first album since Marco, their bass player, and the male vocalist in the band left.
Oh.
So this is going to be a new
When
bass
is the
player.
last album? How many years has it been?
It's been, I think, 4 years.
Okay. So they didn't become like huge in the reaction scene until COVID, basically?
Yeah, well, COVID is when the reaction scene started.
I suppose that's true.
That's why.
I feel like the reaction scene like really started with the Red Wedding.
Well, yeah, yes, that's definitely true for that. But I think the music reaction scene,
Fair.
2020 is when Human 2 Nature came out.
Cool.
And so, and they were already big at that, like they were getting big, but the album had already been done by that point. So this is the first album conceivably influenced by any of that stuff. And Marco's not in this, so we won't be hearing him. So I don't know if this new bass player can also do like high-pitched male vocals or screaming male vocals or anything like that. I don't know if we're going to hear any screaming vocals at all. I really have no clue what we're going to hear. But we'll just have to see what we get. Okay, you ready?
I am.
All right, for track 1, Yesterwinde, this is probably just an intro since it's only 2 minutes and 43 seconds, which is enough to be like 3 or 4 poppy songs in one go. But this is just a pithy little Nightwish intro song. So, I assume at least. Here we go, Yesterwinde in 3, 2, 1.
Oh, winding.
Mm-hmm.
I feel myself getting younger.
Some sort of a machine. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Like solo male operatic vocal. I love this.
This is really great. I like this a lot.
Mm-hmm. This is very... Now, Floor could write stuff like this, too. I believe she can do...
You're going to get beat to death if you keep talking.
Good job. Keep calling me out at it. Shut up. Just do the old shut up. I'm going to turn it up a little bit. Think there might be a church organ in there. Violin. Flute.
Ooh. It's just going right through to the next one.
We are gonna just let it go. Yeah, that was very cool.
It was.
I would say her vocal was good volume there. All right, so this is the most song they released as a single, the most recent song they released as a single just a couple days ago.
And it is almost 10 minutes, so it is also the most sung.
Nightwish usually starts off with a long song.
Oh.
To kind of set up the whole album, the themes and everything. Her vocals are too low.
I don't like the hi-hat hard pan on the right.
Yeah. There's a buildup of low frequencies too, but it's not like egregiously bad or anything.
Right, it's definitely there. It hasn't gotten awful.
Vocal overdubs.
Hi-hat change, split left, right.
Okay. Might be a different cymbal.
Yeah, true. But it's definitely both.
There's a lead guitar in there doing a solo, but I can't hear it.
The cymbals are so loud.
Try to find the guitar solo.
It's a smear. It's like a 30-degree smear across the
That was
front.
terrible. I think this is in the mastering. The mastering brought up the sides so much that the middle was crushed into oblivion. Yeah, the cymbals are weird. The guitars are kind of mushy, too.
It's definitely fighting with itself, the whole mix.
Yeah. And now, when all the crazy elements go away, it's going to sound really nice. And that's when you know it's the compression and the mastering.
Oh.
Like, listen how big those drums sound now.
Yeah, they're huge.
You couldn't have it sound like that while other stuff was going. Absolutely impossible.
You lose it all.
And that's because it's over-compressed. Love the vocals.
This is enormous. This whole thing is enormous.
Yeah. I was too thirsty before we started. We weren't even be done with the first real song.
Halfway there.
Very cool. I want to also let everybody know this is Chris's first entire Nightwish album. Harp. Nope, acoustic guitar. Mm-hmm. Yep. Beautiful part.
What's that?
That clicky thing?
Yeah.
It's something.
It's something. Wonder if it's like a
ticking clock or something.
A ticking, yeah. That was a fire hose. Right in the face.
Man.
This part reminds me of the intro to Attack on Titan.
By Sound Horizon?
Yes.
You ever listen to any of their albums? Oh.
Quite the bass tone.
Oh yeah, give us some sound effects. Are we gonna get someone talking? Nope. Maybe.
Ooh, the Titanic theme. Is that a
hurdy-gurdy?
Punjabi?
Oh, maybe. It could be. Yeah, it's not a hurdy-gurdy. Hurdy-gurdy's the like winding thing. This is cool. It sounds nice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this stuff sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
It's just unfortunately when the band plays, it doesn't sound as great.
I have thoughts.
Yeah, we'll save it. This album is 1 minute short of being too long to fit on one CD. And be Red Book standard, or Red Book compliant. I think I heard a seagull. This could go right into the next song, but we're going to stop it.
Yeah.
So it goes to 26. Oh, no. Okay.
Oh, nice. It did stop. So.
Okay. Yeah.
You know the old meme. I guess it's not really a meme, but it's just a thing that you see all the time where it's like they show the president when he first took office and then how much older he is when he gets out of office.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
You could probably do that same thing to whoever mixed and or mastered this album.
Yeah.
Like at the beginning of mastering,
before it was mastered and after mastering.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like to me. And so I would say the biggest disappointment I have with this, it's tough. It's tough, and I don't want to crap on it. I want to definitely get a few songs in before I like definitively start saying things. But if I had to guess what happened, they had the mix nice, and they sent it to mastering. And what a lot of mastering is nowadays is bringing the overall volume of everything up. And so how do you do that? You compress things a little bit here and there, because if you look at the waveform of a mix that goes up and down, right? And what you do is you take those peaks where it goes up, and you kind of chop them off a little bit. You chop them off a little bit, using compression, and then you slowly get it so that there isn't as many peaks, and then you can bring the overall volume of everything up. That's how mastering kind of works. But one other thing that mastering does is it can take the audio that's on the sides of the mix, and it can significantly boost the far left and far right. And I think if I had to guess what happened here, the mix was much better balanced when it was fully dynamic. And then in the mastering, they had to compress the kick drum and the bass so much that the middle, everything panned directly middle, which would be where the kick, the snare, the bass guitar, a lot of other elements as well, but most importantly, Floor's lead vocals and the lead guitar, which was embarrassing in that song. It might as well not have even been there. It was that horrifically bad.
Everything on the lower half of the frequency spectrum just feels so huge.
Yeah,
like
just a brick.
It's a solid brick of mid to low end, I think, that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah,
and
there's no clarity.
Everything's getting lost in it.
Yeah. So what I was going to say is what they're doing is they're compressing the stuff on the far left and the far right, and they're bringing up the things on the extreme left and extreme right. And what's happening is they're allowing that to be some low frequencies and stuff out there, whereas usually the low frequencies kind of exist in a ball in the middle that kind of maybe extends out to like maybe 75%, and you don't generally have too much stuff with lots of low frequency beyond that ever. And most of the low frequency stuff is just contained kind of in the middle of the mix, maybe to 25% either direction. And so what's happening is by boosting the lows and stuff on the outsides, you have to tamp the lows down in the middle. And so what sounds like is happening to me is during mastering, they made the outsides louder, and then the inside got smushed. But the most egregious wrong thing in that song was that guitar solo. It was non-existent. It was absolutely atrocious. You could not even tell that it was there. It was terrible. And I always say that the lead vocals and the lead instruments should be relatively the same volume. They should feel the same volume, not necessarily the same volume, but like a guitar solo should be relatively the same volume as the lead vocals. Depending on how intense those vocals are or something, maybe the guitar solo could be a little bit lower, but they should never be like when your vocals are 5 dB too low and then the guitar solo is like 3 dB below that, it's unacceptable volume. I mean, it was terrible. So,
yeah, she was pretty quiet. And then the guitar solo was even quieter.
I mean, you were listening to something else at that point, so I don't begrudge you for not really like. And I was just like, "What?" And you were like trying to make a point, so I apologize that I cut you off and stuff there. But we'll have to notice more about that. I suspect when we get to like a ballad on this album, it's going to by far sound the best. Like by far. I also suspect, if my suspicions are true, that every verse is going to sound better than every chorus, because the chorus is going to be where things come in and the verses are going to be where things leave and go away. And the fewer things we're listening to at any given time, the better the mix is going to sound and the more even it's going to sound, because the less it's being smashed into oblivion. And that is just so disappointing. I do not think Nightwish has had that problem ever on their previous albums where it's been overcompressed.
Do they have a left-handed drummer?
I don't think so.
Then I find the placement, like that hard right hi-hat, I found to be pretty distracting because it was just like right over here.
Yeah. Well,
and it's like, what? I always find it interesting where different drums end up in a mix because it's all over the place. And sometimes it's like, this is mixed as if you are the drummer and then you've got your hi-hat right, bop, 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 all these drums over here like this. Sometimes it's mixed as if you're facing the stage and then you'll end up with hi-hat right, or the first time I said right, I meant left. Hi-hat right, and then it's like that. But it's like you've got hi-hat right, and then you change into like the chorus, and now it's like you're using bigger cymbals that are panned left, right, hi-hat disappears, and then maybe something's just happened over here, and it's like, is this to sort of replicate any sort of consistent drum configuration, or are we just sticking things where we think they'll go and stay out of the way? Mm-hmm. I've never had to mix drums before. I don't really know anything about how that works. But
I want to talk about the drums too, but I want to listen to another song first.
Okay.
Let's see what another couple songs maybe gets us, and then I'll give my thoughts on the drums, because I have a couple ideas of how maybe that happened too. Okay, so that was An Ocean of Strange Islands. That's an interesting single. I will say I enjoyed the song. I liked the song a lot. I just wish that I could have heard what was happening a little bit better, and I wish that the problems I was hearing weren't distracting me from or weren't allowing me to enjoy the parts that I think I would have liked more. So now that I kind of understand, at least I think, what we're going to get throughout this album, I'll try to let that distract me less, and I'll try to focus more on the different things that are happening between songs. I mean, I will say I enjoyed the sounds of the orchestra. I enjoyed the brass sounded great all the time, but that's because brass is primarily a high frequency instrument, so it can just kind of slice through stuff.
They cut real hard.
Mm-hmm. So, all right, this is the Antikythera mechanism. You ready?
Yeah.
In 3, 2, 1.
Does cymbals sound artifacty to you?
Yes, and I'll explain that.
Okay. Because I do wonder, especially
there's no way a hi-hat could be far right or far left. I think I know what they're doing.
Okay.
This sounds okay. The tom drums sound good. They're meaty. So this male vocalist, that's Troy, the guy that plays all the sort of wooden instruments and the uilleann pipes and stuff.
He could stand to be a lot louder. Like, he's the same volume as the strings on the left and right.
Yeah. I heard a word that I don't think was in there.
I like this progression.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Metallica.
That's cool. One of the things I wanted to see if you thought at the end of this was if they're heavier than you thought they were.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
There is just so much low end here. And not necessarily in a good way.
I think it might be because they didn't low pass all the orchestral stuff. Which they definitely should have. That string part's cool.
Yep. That ride cymbal is just sort of like here.
All the vocals are so cool.
Big stingers, yeah.
I would give $1 million to anyone who can tell me what they're saying here. No, not that. There was a speaking part there. Could you even tell it was there?
Yeah.
Fuck, you couldn't tell me what they were saying.
I thought the same thing.
Cool, gets a cool drum part. I swear she's saying something about the child filed. But I'm pretty sure she's not.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Reconciled, you're the child, filed.
Undefiled.
Filed.
Like it's a verb.
Okay.
Listen to that. Listen to the way that rings out.
Yeah.
Like, that's low. That's so low for days.
And it doesn't need to be there, that low frequency stuff. No.
And you probably wouldn't get the vocals wrong if you could hear them.
Or you definitely could hear the vocals more easily.
Than the other song?
Is that what you mean? Or what? Oh,
I just mean like you're like, I'm hearing words that I don't think are there. And all I could think was, if only you could hear the vocals more, you probably get the lyrics right.
1,000%, 100%, yeah. And I mean, I was just kind of joking, but like,
I know,
I probably shouldn't joke about that, but I mean, that's what it did sound like she was saying,
right?
But like, I liked that song. I did.
Yeah,
I did like that song.
Cool.
I liked what happened in the middle there a lot, and then the kind of build up, and there was this weird like eerie vocal thing happening that was this like unsettling. You couldn't even really tell it was a vocal part, but it clearly was like something that would have been in like the Witch soundtrack. You know what I mean? Like unsettling pitches of like vocalists do. It was really cool. Now it could have been done on a keyboard or something too. I don't even know, but
sure.
Like that was really neat. I really liked that. I liked that stuff, but thank goodness there wasn't a guitar solo to make me rage in there. Unless there was, and we just couldn't hear it. but
that one part that you brought up about like anybody who tells me what they're saying, like I did think that. I was like, boy, what is the point of even having this this piece here? Like this is nothing. Nothing is being said.
Yeah. So. Let's listen to one more, and then I'll give you my thought about the drums. We'll see if they're a little different in this one. What?
Because I am curious about that.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the day of ... A short song. Is this the shortest song? No, there's a 4:23 later on. Okay, in 3, 2, 1. Cool.
Listen to the reverb on that snare. It's so low.
Yeah.
It's like you're just adding all this, piling these noises up.
This sounds fine. I mean, she could sound a little louder here, I guess.
Yeah.
Love that synth.
Yeah.
Children's choir, let's go.
Love that.
That was awesome. This is cool. This is awesome.
I do like this.
This is like the coolest Nightwish song I've heard in a long time. Easy come, easy go.
Yes.
Let's go.
Love this.
That's Thomas playing on the keyboard too, and Empu playing the guitar.
Very cool.
Yo, I can't wait to hear this one live. I mean, on a DVD or something someday. Yes. I had a good idea just a second ago. Remind me to tell you.
The hi-hat is right here. It's inside this headphone.
That hi-hat?
Yes. It's like hitting me in my ear.
Key change. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the stuff I'm hearing that we're thinking is actual orchestra and stuff is just Thomas on the keyboard. Because they've made such strides with how real everything sounds.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that was... Yes, Nightwish made a banger with that one.
That was cool.
That was great.
I like that.
Okay, so the idea I had, Chris.
Yeah.
There's a version of this album they sell with the instrumental tracks, right?
Yeah.
Can you guess what I'm going to say?
No.
Take the track with the vocals. Take the instrumental tracks. Line them up. invert.
You're gonna do it?
Invert the phase.
Oh.
So that all the metal and everything is gone but the vocals. Bounce that. Load that track in over the top of the track with vocals. Bring the volume down 0.5%. You've just increased the volume of the vocals by 1/3.
Have you tried that before?
No.
Because I
don't think it would work very good, but I'm just saying
I know
as a possibility.
I think there's I love the idea for sure. And I think, it depends on how, I think you're going to rip the instrumentals and it won't line up perfectly with the ones from the previous album.
You'd have to go in and minusculely line them up.
Right, which would be hell. But
No. It wouldn't be that bad. You'd be surprised. It wouldn't be that bad. It's not that bad.
I love the idea. I want you to try it. I want to see it.
I will probably try it if I can ever get my hands on instrumental stuff.
Try it on something that already exists.
I'd have to find instrumental tracks of something. Oh, I guess
Protest the Hero does instrumental tracks of all of their most recent albums.
I could do it with any of the other. I'm sitting here next to a stack of Nightwish CDs that each come with a bonus disc of instrumental stuff. The only thing is,
that's what I'm saying.
The only thing is that would be an issue, and it would be an issue for sure. Is I guarantee the instrumental mixes are probably mixed and compressed slightly differently than the versions with the vocals. I doubt they're just like a mute the vocal tracks and then re-rip it. I doubt that.
Exactly.
So
I think that they'd be doing themselves a disservice because you have so much more room available with an instrumental track to be able to mix it so that you don't have to worry about making space for a vocal. And to just do it where they're just like mute, print, like that is never going to, that would be such a bummer.
I think that's how most bands do it. Instrumental tracks.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm pretty sure.
I've never actually tried to compare directly. Like I'll try that and see if I can come up with something interesting.
You should see if you can come up with. Okay, so the drums thing, I'll say I was listening to it that song in particular to see if my thoughts would really work, and I don't know if it does.
Dang.
So what I was gonna say is, when we recorded the first Primal Waters album, okay, we used electronic drums. And so
electronic kit or samples?
Electronic kit.
Cool.
And so what we ended up doing was, actually, you know what? No, I'll go with the second Primal Waters album. So this is a metal band I worked on a long while ago, not a big deal. So when we were recording the drums, we used a triggered kick and a triggered snare, right? So it was an electronic kick, electronic snare, basically. So the drummer was playing with that, but then he had real cymbals set up around him. And we did not record with overheads, okay?
Right.
The person who recorded the drums, which was Chris Schoenberg, he recorded one microphone on each cymbal. Which is one way to record drums. And then theoretically, what you do when you're mixing is you pick your kick and your snare, put them in the mix, and then you put each of the cymbals in there and you pan them where the cymbals would be in relation to the drums. Like you were saying earlier, if you want to do it from the drummer's perspective or from audience perspective, you pan them however you want. I would always do it from drummer's perspective is what I would do. So the hi-hat goes over a little bit to the left, maybe crash hit over here, tom over here, You can't see my hands now, I realize, because I'm zoomed, cutting my footage off.
I get it.
But you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. So I think what we ended up doing on that album, because the cymbals didn't sound very good, was what I did was we started mixing the album, and the cymbals felt very, very middle. Even though we had them panned wide, they were just so weenie sounding, right? They were just so thin, and they didn't ring out as long as we wanted, and they were pathetic. So we're like, okay, well, we can add some reverb to them. But I thought, let me try something. So what I did was I took and I extended them out a little bit more than maybe we would have normally done it. So they were a little more extreme left, extreme right. And I'm talking for all the cymbals, including the hi-hat here. And then I copied and pasted that track, or duplicated that track, and I reversed the stereo image on the other track, right? So I took the stereo track of the drums, bounced them down to stereo, and then I duplicated that bounced track onto another individual identical track, and then I reversed to the left and the right. And I brought the volume of that down, but not that much, actually. You'd be surprised, but I brought it down. And then we sent those tracks both to a bus and put a lot of reverb on it, and immediately the cymbals filled out. Everything felt enormous. It felt wide. It felt way better. And it felt much better than the first album, which just had electronic cymbals on it. And you could clearly tell, like, well, that's where they put that one. Instead, what you're doing is you have a cymbal here, right? But you get the reverse image of it over here, just down in volume a little, like this. And that's a common thing to do. But with cymbals, that's also a relatively common thing to do, especially if you don't have a stereo pair or an overhead miking situation set hooked up. You do this to make the whole thing feel wider and more dense. And I was thinking that was kind of something that they did here, like that they recorded the microphone, the drums, the cymbals, with like individual microphones on them, and then they panned them pretty wide, and then you can definitely still hear them on the other side, which would be impossible. Like if the drummer, in order for the hi-hat to be as far to the right as it is, the drummer would have to be like the stereo image would have to be, the drummer's head would be, I mean, it would be impossible for the drum in real space to be way over here. Yeah. Like way over here. It'd be impossible. So what you do is you take that signal once you decide to put it way over there for whatever reason. And what they're doing is they're getting the cymbals and the high frequencies out of the way to make room for the orchestra and the brass and the vocals, such as that they are, to be in the middle 50% of the panning spectrum, and the cymbals are existing kind of on the outside of that. And so what I was thinking, especially with that first track, was you mentioned that you could hear the hi-hat over here, and he was going, and it was pretty dry. And then you mentioned when the hi-hat went to it sounded like a different hi-hat. I said maybe it's a different cymbal, but it changed to the other side, but you could still clearly hear it on the other side.
Yeah.
There's no way that would be possible in real life. So, so it's almost like you were in a big reverb chamber, but you're intentionally creating reverb over here to manufacture it, which that's another way people do it too, is you take the reverb you put a mono track on a stereo reverb, and then you just boost the reverb on the other channel, like you compress the reverb. So there's like other ways of doing what I was explaining, but the way I was doing it was this sort of like force it to work the way you want it to method.
Yeah.
And so I think something like that is what's going on with the cymbals. It's not necessarily the best way to approach this, especially because this is Nightwish. And they had the budget and the knowledge that they've had in the past to literally record everything perfectly and then hire someone to mix it perfectly. Like there's no excuse for not having that.
So. And it's just so odd. But that's really interesting to know. I didn't know anything about any of that. And it's weird because it's like, the thing that you did for Primal Waters, is that enough of an industry standard idea to expect to hear it somewhere else? Or is that just thing that you came up with?
No, you could hear that somewhere. Like, I mean, it wasn't anything like super special that I did. But but what the thing is, to me, it made it sound way more professional sounding, like way better. Now, the thing is, the reason it did that was because it made it sound a lot more realistic instead of just fakey McFakerton, And so all of a sudden it sounded like the cymbals were doing what more realistic cymbals should do. And if you listen to the difference between what the first Primal record sounds like, which it sounds like we used triggered everything, and the second Primal Primal Waters album, it sounds more like a real kit. And we did use real cymbals, but those cymbals did not sound good until I did what I did. And I didn't even tell Chris I did it until he came in, and I did it on all the tracks, and we were listening for a long time. And Chris Schoenberg gets very focused when he's listening. Like if he's trying to work on something, like he could literally listen for 5 hours and only hear the bass.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's how you have to be when you're mixing stuff, kind of. But after a while, I was like, "Did you notice the cymbals?" And he started listening to the cymbals and noticed it right away and asked what I did, and I showed him, and he was like, "Did you do this to all the songs?" he said, "Did you do this to all the songs?" I said, "Yes." And he said, "Good." And then we never discussed it again. But let me tell you, before that, if I wish I had like a demo mix before and after. That would be a great thing to show on the channel sometime.
That'd be really cool.
So I'll have to try to go into some of those mixes and see. I know I lost some of that stuff when I had my hard drive crash a couple of years ago.
I've lost some really some things with hard drive crashes.
Yeah. So, all right, are we ready for the next one? This is the song I heard already, and you're going to listen to this and be like, aha, this is the single.
I will not. I mean, other than maybe. I understand what you mean now. I thought you meant because I must have heard it by now.
No. You'll be like, this is the single.
Yeah,
2 minutes after the 2-minute intro is over, at least.
Okay.
All right. Ready?
Yep.
In 3, 2, 1. Absolutely ridiculous low end here.
So much low end, so much low reverb, such a long tail. Like you're just piling these sounds up on top of each other.
Yes. And it does sound cool here, but please God, you need to remove that when any other instrument comes in.
Yeah.
So that's fake chorus.
Sure.
I think. So cool.
Do you think that instrument should be louder?
No.
Okay.
It's too repetitive to be like a lead instrument.
Fair.
This is like Cure for Wellness, one of my favorite movies of all time.
I just saw somebody talking about that recently.
If you've never seen it, it's some of the greatest cinematography of all time.
Mm-hmm.
But this is right out of that kind of soundtrack.
That's cool.
Yeah. I need to watch that movie again. Oh my God, that movie is good. Another movie a lot of people unnecessarily hate. Like, to me, this could have all been on an intro track to this, like a prequel track, or whatever.
Sure, like a little like an interstitial
interlude.
kind of thing.
An interlude. Drums, guitars sound a little more present, more high frequency in them.
This sounds good. Real nice.
Mm-hmm.
Still could be a little louder if she could, but...
I wonder what it'll be like listening to this on like a phone speaker or some bad set of speakers. Will it sound way better? I mean, you know what I mean. Like, will it... You know what I mean.
Almost Phantom of the Opera there. Bum, 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 bum.
Okay. The mix sounds way better on this one in terms of the metal and stuff. Her vocals are way too low there, and they're too low in the verse as well. But the rest of everything is being handled more nicely.
Mm-hmm. It's wild how natural that kick sounds.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Ooh, weird there with the hi-hat.
Yeah.
That's so badass. This is like Home Alone 7, Home Alone Goes to Hell. You know? Home Alone goes to, Dante's Inferno or Diablo or something. Doom. Hey, it sounded good for a sec. It's all sounded good. It's just not the right volume. Troy?
With the perfume of the timeless, last sighs on a deathbed.
This is just so Nightwish.
It's a good thing.
Right.
With the perfume of the timeless, last sighs of a million.
There's nothing in the world I love more than a low piano note.
I think we're rolling into the next song here.
Oh, no,
Nope.
Stop it.
It stopped.
Stop it.
You just got substantially louder for some reason.
Oh, sorry. Well, I didn't do anything, so.
Oh, it's fixing itself.
Yeah, whatever. Who knows what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me tell you about the vocals on these tracks.
Okay.
That there had several different vocals, especially at the end, where it's like there is almost nothing else happening here. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it would have been better for him to sound closer. Like there was still a lack of clarity. Mm-hmm. It is almost like he's back here. Like, even when there's nothing else going on, there's not like this really definitive, nice closeness that you can get with a clean vocal in so many other things that don't have anything else going on. Like that, compare that to a Fine Frenzy, for example.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. I think that's clearly the best sounding song we've heard so far.
Sure.
That was the big single. That's the one I've reacted to. I don't know. One thing I was going to say earlier was that, and I kind of mentioned it during the song there, one of the songs, that I feel like we're hearing a lot of Thomas experimenting with a lot of the most modern or the most technologically advanced ways of recording and making your own orchestrations. Which there's lots of soundtracky things we hear in movie trailers and movies and things all over that sounds like a full ass orchestra, and it was just made by one dude on his laptop, you know?
Yeah.
And so if Thomas has been working on that with himself, or even with his buddy Pip Williams, who does all the orchestration stuff for him, like you could easily get to a point where he's making all of this bigger bombastic stuff, and then you just bring in individual instruments and record individual instruments to feature. That's definitely how Nightwish and a lot of these symphonic metal bands always start their careers, making as much as they can on their keyboards, and then they'll bring in like a violin player to play violin parts all over, and then they just bring that violin part up, and it makes everything sound more realistic. Or you feature a violin or something like that. But in this case, like, you can tell when there's brass. I'm pretty sure it's real brass, but also you wouldn't necessarily have to be real brass either, because there's such good patches and ways to synthetically create a space for everything to exist in. But, you know, like we've been saying, the low frequencies needed to be low or high passed out of all of this extra stuff.
They need to be wrangled a bit.
Yeah, maybe not when they're just by themselves, but when everything else is going. And that was one of the things I thought this song did better. The metal and the guitars had more high frequencies in them. I think they were less low passed, and I think that the orchestrations and everything had less high frequencies in them. They were high passed. And so I think that was why the mix felt more like you could hear the separate parts of everything that were happening at any given time.
Oh, that message that you just got is from me. And it was something I noticed in the music player here. There's, it's got the little visualizer. And I just happened to notice the shape of it throughout the majority of that song. And it's very low heavy. It's starts high left, it slopes down to the right, and it kind of just stays that way.
Oh, that is not what it should be happening.
I agree.
That is not.
And that, obviously that's a screenshot of a very particular random singular point in the song. But I was like, that, and it's weird because at no point have we really had any complaints about how there's no high frequencies in this. Like, it doesn't feel smeared out.
No, I definitely don't think that. No, I haven't been thinking that way. I did think that there were moments where the guitars were getting smushed, not necessarily smushed, but the guitars were getting, they were blending in with everything so much you couldn't tell what they were doing really separately. You could just tell it was just like a chunky, meaty thing inside there with all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So
that particular little graph is certainly not, like, I'm not putting money on that. Like, if I want to see how it looks on an EQ, I'll throw it into a graphic EQ and Reaper or something that actually, like, costs money. But
right.
It was just an interesting thing I recognized. I was like, oh, hey, that seems like that's not shaped the way you would want.
No, absolutely not. In fact, it should be the opposite. That should be the lowest thing you're seeing, and the rest of the humps in the middle, and then the high.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. All right, are you ready for Sway?
I am.
This is the shortest track on the album, so maybe we'll get like a ballad or something here. We'll see. In 3, 2, 1. This is gonna sound good. Definitely more low frequency than needs to be in there, but not egregious.
It is. It's a bit soft. Warm, soft and warm, that whole thing. He said the name.
Yesterwinde.
A grateful soul never needed much. Emanate the heavens through your touch. Sway over the mountain tops or over the swaying crops. Adorn your garden with a perfect day.
This is fun.
Over the discontent, your story
This is fun.
Oh yeah. This is all Troy. This is the kind of stuff he's brought to the band since he joined.
Nice.
To snow again in this perfect village. Oh, the birds have flown, the birds have blown, where you rest your worn out wings. Sway over the mountain tops or over the swaying crops, adorn your garden with a perfect day. Sway over the discontent, ghost stories in a tent, your house lands on the wind, see yourself. Some stories heal and some
I don't know why Floor wanted to be so low on this album. Yeah. This is great so far up to this point. I like that like tambourine hit in there with no high frequency in it.
Yeah, it's got that really beefy kick under it. Reminds me of the Dead Brothers. Just like sonically speaking.
Sure. Should we keep going?
Sure.
All right, we'll keep
nice.
going. Yeah, that was great.
Still fastness in the horizon.
Love that.
I love the intro too. We Were There is a big line that they used on their last album a lot.
Ooh. Let's go.
I guess you can do this when your bass player quits. Some of this is sounding very like a Net era Nightwish.
Oh. Huh.
I've never heard them do anything like this before.
That's awesome.
It's kind of cool.
A little spooky. A little Home Alone spooky.
I think that is a harp.
Yes, I agree. Oh, yeah. This is great.
Ooh, that was cool. Oh. Damn it, this would be so good if I could hear the lyrics, the vocals. Man, this would be awesome if it was mixed properly. I don't think it's the mastering anymore. I think it was a conscious decision to prioritize the music over the vocals, like to such an extent that it's egregious.
It's pretty egregious.
Very cool. This is all so cool. This song definitely feels like it could have been from a Net era.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is it the first one?
No, that's Tarja. That's the second singer that they did 2 albums with.
Nice.
Very cool. Okay, so what was your thoughts on Swather, that first song?
I forget.
Well, that was the one.
Cool?
Yeah, that was the one with
cool?
no guitars and stuff in it.
Was that the cool one, the electronic sounding one?
No, that's this one.
That was Children? Okay. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I forgot. I don't remember, honestly.
That's all right. We ended in a completely different place than we started. But the one before this was the one that had just the acoustic guitars, and it was quiet the whole time. There was no big guitars or anything. It was.
I mean, I think a lot of the same consistent thoughts as other stuff. Like, it just feels like it could have been recorded better.
Or if nothing else, mixed better.
Yeah.
I think for some reason, there's just this, when the music gets loud, the vocals get quieter. The louder the music gets, the quieter the vocals get, and I just don't understand that. Mm-hmm. I just don't understand that, and that's very strange.
I agree with your statement. Like, the vocals are so much quieter than the music. Like, it feels beyond the limits of mastering. Like it feels like a choice.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Which is odd because she's such a powerhouse. Like
and she's so famous. She's such a famous part of this.
Yeah.
Not that should impact the volume of the vocals. There is a correct place for the vocals to sit inside. There is a acceptable pocket that the vocals can sit in, and this is below the acceptable pocket, I would say, during points at least.
And it feels. I mean, there's so many elements to it where it's like, you know, with any form of engineering, if you make a change over here, it requires 12 changes over here that cascade into 1,000 changes over here, and then you are always just twisting knobs and turning and balancing stuff. So,
right.
You know, we're talking about what I would probably consider to be what is likely to be some of the most difficult music to mix well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, you know, obviously this is Nightwish. They should not be... You would think that they would have it all locked in by now, but...
And it shouldn't sound worse than any of their previous albums.
Right. But you know, as an interesting counter to that, if they're doing things that are different than their previous albums, there's a reason, you know, there's a potential for it to be something that would sound worse or could. You know, it's like you wouldn't expect it to be, but then it's like, here's some new elements or something we wanted to try, and that's going to require sacrifices over in this direction.
I definitely think the thing that feels the most different to me is all of the playing around with the like choir vocal stuff. Because like in the past, the choir vocals would just do like sort of like churchy choir vocal things. Like they would have their own vocal part and they would sing them and do them, or they'd be doing ahs and oohs and stuff maybe here and there. But for this, like almost every song has had moments where the vocals are more like sound effects. Whether they're being creepy or they're like adding like an airiness or something to it. And that to me feels very different. But again, that's the vocals.
Yeah.
And that's the thing we're missing from this. Like, I don't necessarily think that those parts are super too low. I think they could be brought up more in the mix because I think they sound really cool. But I think that they're still doing their job in the mix. But you should still be able to hear the lead vocals over the top of them. Like, you should still be able to hear the lead vocals over the top of everything else. And it just... For some reason, someone decided somewhere, like, we don't want to hear Floor on this. And I don't know if it's just, like, who mixed this and, like, who had final say or what, but, like, it's really bad. Yeah. It's really upsetting. I mean, this is not quite, what was that band? The album was Swagger and Stroll Down the Rabbit Hole. Diablo Swing Orchestra. This isn't quite Diablo Swing Orchestra, which was just like a complete mess in every possible way.
I remember that.
And literally took the potential of what was clearly like 1,000% effort put into this album, and then it was just mixed terribly, mastered terribly, sounds terrible. This still does sound like it could have been done correctly. Like, there's nothing in here that's telling me that they were hiding things because Floor's performance was bad. That's not true. There's nothing in here that tells me that, like, Floor used a bad microphone that wasn't up to the quality of everything else, so they had to feel like they had to hide it. I don't think that's true either. So it's like, I don't know why the decision was made. You know, I do remember them saying at the time that Floor wanted to sound like her vocal was part of a chorus or choir or something during that Perfume of the Timeless song during the chorus. And like, okay, that's fine. That's a silly excuse, but I can understand that. But that happens all the time in their songs where Floor is part of like an actual chorus or choir. That happens all the time. The thing is, if you're going to have the lead vocal in there and just bring it down in volume, it's unsettling and weird. And that's not something that happens in professional mixes. And then to just have the lead vocals of the songs consistently low all the time, that's just not acceptable. It's not acceptable. So I was looking at comments from when I reacted to the single here. Here's what one person wrote. Text of Nightwish Facebook post on October 16th, 2023. It's a wrap. 1,065 takes of orchestras, choirs, and special guests recorded at Abbey Road Studios. Our sincerest thanks go out to everyone and everybody involved, musicians, singers, and technicians alike. Your passion and dedication never cease to amaze us. Very special thanks to Mr. James Shearman for wonderfully filling the massive shoes of our longtime orchestral arranger, Mr. Pip Williams. Oh, interesting. Onwards. So they wasted all those great recordings at Abbey Road. No, they sound fine, but the title of the album is a word made by the band member Troy, which Thomas describes as the feeling of time, history, memory, and being connected to past generations, who have all had their lives, their ups and downs, and they don't exist anymore except as atoms scattered all over the universe. And we're going to be in that state pretty soon as well. So that should give you something to think about.
Interesting thing to say.
Holopainen has described the album as being about humanism, history, and the inspiration thereof, and that outlook of the album is positive, and that the outlook of the album is positive and optimistic. All right, something whispered, follow me. You ready?
Yep.
In 3, 2, 1. Interesting delay there.
This is the same thing that happens at the beginning of the other song. Oh, that's because I'm an idiot. Let me pick the correct song.
I'm at 27 seconds.
Okay.
You haven't missed anything if you want to catch up.
I'm there.
At least there's a lead electric guitar we can hear.
Yeah, this sounds really nice.
Maybe this is just going to be an instrumental metal song.
Instrumental, you say?
An instrumental song. Shut up, yes. Nope. Yeah.
Love that guitar tone.
Yeah.
Ooh. Love a harmony. Oh, yeah.
Very ominous.
Yeah.
But also hopeful
As it
sounding.
should be.
Yeah. Whoa. That's probably floor.
Ooh, yeah.
Look, they automated the volume of the guitars down here. Amazing. Who'd have thought it was possible? Maybe someone will run this through, and I hate to say it because I'm getting really pissed off at AI stuff. Maybe someone will run this through some sort of AI and just say, make the vocals louder.
You can't. It doesn't work that way.
They can have Shaquille O'Neal singing Insane Clown Posse from the 1920s in a rowboat on their way to Hogwarts Castle, going underneath a jet. This is cool. Follow me. Hold on, we got 10 seconds yet. Nothing. Nope. Okay. I will say, since the day of, those first two songs, Ocean of Strange Islands and the Anarchical Mechanism,
Yeah.
those were disappointing but I don't know, maybe my ears have just gotten more used to it. But I will say, since I loved The Day Of as a song, and then I thought Perfume of Timeless sounded better, and I think since then it's kept with the quality of Perfume of the Timeless.
Interesting. Okay.
So maybe I just am getting used to it. There is definitely less heavy, like double bass and metal and stuff that we've heard.
I was going to say, do you think it could have anything to do with the type of music that's happened so far?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe the style of the song is definitely contributing to that. I would say, yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you want to just go on to Spider Silk?
Let's do it.
All right. I'm enjoying this. So
yeah.
In 3, 2, 1. This Spider Silk sounds like a In This Moment song title.
The little bum bum bum, like there's a middle piece of that's very Silent Hill. Which one's drinking, dude? That was an interesting progression.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird, like, slapbacky delay stuff on things at times.
Yeah.
Did you weave during the moonlight hours? Did you create, or did you wait and trap the other with light?
Whoa.
That was too loud.
I'll allow it. Sounds like the Proto Men.
It's just hard for me to get into it because it's not balanced.
Is it just the vocals or something else?
I just mean the mix isn't balanced correctly.
Throughout this whole album so far, I've thought the drums seemed unnecessarily the biggest force in the song.
Okay, I can see that. That's not uncommon with Nightwish, but usually the vocals are as loud as the snare drum is.
Okay.
Like the kick and the snare. And that's not the case here. Oh yeah.
Come sail away.
Ooh, that was a cool.
Yeah, slide in. Love that bass. This sounds good.
Yeah. There is a lead guitar in there, but you can't tell it's there.
I like the. It's way down there, under the bass even. Interesting.
Okay, back to the Silent Hill. Which is a good way to describe this.
I'm glad you agree.
Yep, oh, absolutely.
Interesting.
I like the sort of long outros that they're doing, and the long intros as well on some of the songs. That's. I guess that is something that they do a lot, but I feel like they're doing it in a slightly different way. Maybe they've been doing that more on their last album, especially. So maybe that's more of a kind of like a Troy-ish type of thing in terms of maybe it's not, maybe probably not. It's probably just a band thing. But
yeah,
again, that I love the chorus. It was nice. It was big. I just wish that the vocals would have been big to match the chorus. It's really disappointing. But like honestly, like the volume of the vocals is going to ruin this entire album for me. Like I'm not at the end of this. I'm going to say I didn't enjoy this album. Overall, I was disappointed, and it's going to be because of that. And it's really a bummer because the thing is, like, when I see people are going to give this album like 10 out of 10s, and it's like, I just don't understand how you can put something like that off to the side, you know?
Because people don't know that that's a thing that's happening.
Yeah, but I guess, but like, I mean, what are you listening to? You know, I was reading in one of the comments on the video that we did for Perfume of the Timeless, and the person said, the first time I listened to it, I couldn't really hear the vocals, but I listened to this song 50 times or so, and now I know the words by heart, and so at this point, it doesn't matter to me that they're low in the mix anymore. I just enjoy the song as a whole thing.
Right.
But to me, because the thing that I'm listening to first and foremost is I want the song to sound as good as possible. And that's just how I am as a person. That's what I'm listening for. I want everything to sound as good as it can, as it can sound. And when it doesn't, it bothers me. So, huge bummer to me. I liked that song. I liked the way it started. I loved the chorus. I liked Troy's vocal part in there in the middle. I will say I did read also in there that the new bass player, whose name I saw, but I didn't remember. I'm sorry.
Let's call him Rob.
He also can sing. So I'm assuming when they're doing these kind of like gangy vocal type things, he is being part of that as well. But for the most part, I'm pretty sure that when we're hearing distinct male vocals so far on the album, we have definitely heard Troy. It sounds to me like Troy's vocals. So, that's that. Are you ready to move on to Hiraeth? Ooh. Are you getting any God of War in any of this?
You know, it hasn't sparked me, but I'm not sure if I know God of War's soundtrack well enough to get poked in that way. I've been listening for what I would consider to be the next best thing would be Heilung, and I have had different thoughts of Heilung in terms of like, you know, there was a floor solo-ish part earlier where I was like, I would love for you to hear a very similar Heilung piece of this to compare the vocal recordings because what they do is flawless. And I think it would be a really good combination because it's such a similar type of music in a way. But otherwise, it hasn't sparked me in that regard yet.
Okay. Well, I think for me, part of it is not necessarily because a lot of the God of War stuff is male vocal stuff that like really makes it stand out, but also like every now and then I hear something, I see a word, I just am listening to it and I'm like, I feel like this would fit into God of War really well.
Oh, sure.
So, you know, and that's kind of cheating because I mean, it could fit into anything that's badass because this is badass.
Well, you couldn't put this in The Last of Us and have it work out, you know?
That's probably true. I mean, yeah, that's true. But I mean, the coolest thing about the Last of Us soundtrack,
thematically, it's just so specific, you know.
Right. All right, so I'm still not convinced that we were not going to get like a Heilungy type of thing at any point because they do that. They did do that in one of their songs for like several minutes in a row, like built this crazy thing. If what I'm thinking of Heilung is correct. All right, Hiraeth in 3, 2, 1. Yes, The acoustic guitars sound great. I think everything sounds great. It's just not mixed properly. It's the mix isn't balanced. Volume.
Heraeth.
As we set off on a voyage across the stars.
That was really convincing. I wasn't looking at you at the time, and I was like, was that?
I could do it a lot more, but I'm not going. I'm restraining myself.
Good.
What's that I see in the distance? A spark? Life has begun.
Probably get like a flood of overly positive comments about.
Oh, I'm sure all that will be positive. Yeah.
And wanting you to do more
And just
of
so
that.
everybody knows, like, I hate talking in songs like that. I don't mind it so much if it's like a sample type thing, you know? And if it's like in an intro or an outro, I'm more okay with it. What is this? Just a stupid acoustic guitar. What am I missing?
I'm just trying to save your life, man. This is Pink Floyd.
Trees, cloud high, step into this view, get that dance out of you.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Never ending, longing for the waters, home that once was.
Just take the fader and just
give her something. Why can't she be louder? Is it against the law?
That got me. I like that.
Good.
Okay, all right. This reminds me of something, this part here. Maybe a little Witcher.
Oh,
Did you ever play that?
I never did.
You suck.
Yep.
Longing for the waters, for a home that once was, for a ghost of lullaby, ever tending, water in the dead field,
I like this.
living with the heart
See, now the volume of the vocals here, I could live with.
shining on, never ending.
This isn't too bad. The lows aren't building up.
Here's the Uilleann pipes.
Yeah.
They're in the middle, though, so they're, for some reason, doomed to be squished. That electric guitar pissed me off. The solo.
Oh.
It wasn't loud enough. It should have been...
Longing for the waters.
Someone needs to be slapped for this. Very cool. Like a reverse vocal patch type thing almost. Ooh.
That's vocal. I think that's vocal. Crazy, but I'm pretty sure that
was pretty
vocal.
cool. That was pretty cool. It's one thing that is interesting, and this happens with Nightwish songs sometimes, but I feel like not as much in the past. This is more of a recent thing. Their songs do, and I always talk about the journey of a song, right? They're taking us, each song is taking us on a long journey. And sometimes we do end so far away from where we started that it is hard to remember where we started. You know, like that song started like minimalistic with acoustic guitars, and the lead vocals were all done by Troy. And we went through a whole verse and a bit of a chorusy type thing, and then another long verse and chorus with and then more stuff happened, and then the guitars came in, and then it got heavy and big, and there was all these interesting things, and there was a disappointing guitar solo, and then there was like a kind of a cool little "I Want My Tears Back" part, and then more instruments came in that you kind of had to like try to reach into the mix to find, like dig into there to find. And then it kind of, came down again a little bit, and by the time you kind of forget where you were, you know what I mean? It's much more progressively structured. I feel a lot of this, and I definitely think that is like earlier today. I listened to quite a bit of their most recent album, Human Nature. And then when I was setting up for all of this and like changing the records behind me, because I put up a bunch of Halloween records and stuff, I was listening to Endless Farm's Most Beautiful, and I think Endless Farm's Most Beautiful is them still kind of clinging to what they were doing before, and maybe a lot of that album was even partially written and stuff before Flora joined the band, though I don't think so, because they were just starting their tour, I think, basically for Imaginarum when Flora joined. But for Human Nature, they really did lean into more of this sort of style, but let me tell you, Human Nature sounds sonically like way better than this.
Oh,
I would say. I would say it does. It sounds better than this. It sounds more similar to their previous work, whereas this does sound quite different. Like the orchestrations of everything sounds very warm. And I don't know, I almost feel like they're like, we can't EQ or compress or do any effects to the orchestra. How dare you? And I'm like, no, sir, that's not how this works. This is a metal band with orchestral elements, not the other way around. You need to be able to mix this stuff.
That's an interesting point, because I think that you could use that to summarize this album in that the orchestral elements are the bigger part of the band. It's kind of like it's facing the wrong direction.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
This is what it sounds like to stand behind the orchestra and face the crowd.
Yeah, that's a good, and have the band be way up in front of them. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. 100%. All right, here we get The Weave. Now, I'm just going to guess that this is going to be a vocal storm, okay? I'm just going to guess that. Because they constantly talk about weaving tapestry and all this stuff, tapestry of life, all these things. We did it a little earlier with Spider Silk. We did it even a little in that one. And I think all that has been leading us to this crazy, this is where we might get the High-a-Lung thing. If anywhere. We won't get it on Lantern Light. But if anything, we might get it here. I could be totally wrong. Of course. I don't know. But
I'd love to. I wish we had some sort of aggregate that we could go back and have, and just like every time a prediction was wrong or right, and just have like a super cut.
I know. I wish we had enough fans that people like cared about what we said and stuff, and would be like, "Here's the mix of that," or "Here's this." But we don't have that, and we're not really good enough to deserve that. So, and I ain't gonna do it. So, all right, ready? The Weave. In 3, 2, 1. There's definitely some playful sounds on this album. Oh, nope, we ain't gonna get in what I thought. At least, unless maybe, I don't know, later, but... Spank bass. Non-existent vocals. This is the point of the concert where the guitar player can go to sleep for a while. He's like, wait, what?
He's just over there going like this.
Give me the guitar. Yeah! Why couldn't it sound this freaking good, but with the vocals loud enough? Right, this sounds good!
Yeah, it does.
This is definitely like down-tuned guitars. I feel like they're trying a little more here with the vocals. Kick sounds awesome. Ah, interesting. This is epic. Their drummer, by the way, is a beast who does like black metal and stuff. He can do anything.
Sounds like it.
His name is Kai.
Like, think of how much more prominent the vocals should be here. It is
Absolutely.
constant. It just,
There's no
it hurts.
reason for them not to be. There's no reason for them not to be. Hopefully enough people get mad at them and they release some sort of deluxe or special edition of this in 3-4 years and are like, we're sorry, we screwed up.
Yeah.
Or someone runs in and steals the files from the thing or something. I mean, something.
She's not even the loudest thing here.
No, and she doesn't necessarily need to be the loudest thing, but she needs to be equal to the loudest thing.
Right.
She's the lead instrument.
I like
that was
that.
Oh, God. No, that's not the end.
This is. You're just driving to the next one?
Yeah, let's do it.
What are you listening to?
Hmm?
What are you listening to?
The end of Weave.
Oh, I must have been ahead or something.
Oh.
Oh, well.
Okay, hold on. Wait, stop. Stop your lantern light then. We'll restart it, okay? In 3, 2, 1. So you heard her sing like really quietly for like 30 seconds and then the metal came back? Or did you stop it thinking the song was over?
I stopped because I thought it was over and then I heard it in your headphones.
Oh, okay. So this is going to be a ballad, I bet. I hope. But we won't be able to hear it either. Let's just enjoy.
A stray boat saved happy memories engraved. Oh, into a velvety night beneath the lantern light.
Who?
Jojo.
Last night brought the heaviest of snow.
Here they're just trying to copy Evanescence.
Set the internet on fire.
someone just breaks into my house and they just come from the ceiling.
Army indeed.
That would really piss me off if someone said that in a video I was watching. I'm just kidding, folks.
far above the lantern light.
Tempo change? It feels like, at least.
I would say so. I feel like this could sound better.
Get more high frequencies and everything.
Yeah.
Or in some things.
I'm in the light and flood. I'm in the fall winds. I'm the wave-shaping pebbles, roller's chest. I am the snow on your palm. I am the secret stream, lost beneath your feet. I am you who climbed off my back not long ago, a sheltered song in a world like gold. The timeless timeless this way above meltwater surge of spring. I hear a song now, sung by the free, for 1,000 more tomorrows of an incomplete week. To the meadows I go, I'll be waiting for you.
Why does it getting smaller when more things are coming in?
She practically vanished there
Yeah.
when she was supposed to be the biggest. She had
Yeah.
double track and everything.
Yep, absolutely terrible. That was automated to do that.
It's like they put a sidechain on her.
Or all the vocals were mixed down to one stereo track and they couldn't pull her out anymore.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And all they had was... Have you thought at all about how this would translate to Dolby Atmos? But we'll talk about that in a second.
I have wondered about that, yeah.
The night falling at my feet, into the forest of
Yesterwinde.
See, that's how loud he should be.
I'll just
Well,
do
there's a
it.
woman half a mile away singing this song.
Actually, it's not a woman. That's the instrument. That's
Are you
his,
sure?
like,
That's how-
that's his like
No, you're
pipes
right.
and stuff. Yeah.
You're right.
Although, how would we know when the vocals are that damn low?
It sounded vocal until the it had that little bit of a
yeah. I thought it was vocal too at first. Now hold on. Ah, the sound from the beginning coming back.
Oh, sure, the lawnmower's back.
Yeah, it almost sounds like a bicycle wheel turning, or some sort of like a
Giant wooden bug.
or a projector.
Yeah, definitely projector. Oh. Did you catch that whine that was under there too?
Yes, on the left side. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that doesn't bother me. That's fine.
I know, but
whatever.
I was like, why would that be there?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. All right. Do you want to talk for a little bit before I?
Yeah. I think that song was the best example of what you've been talking about, where like the bigger it gets, the smaller the vocals are. That one spot in particular, like she's double tracked, she gets this big note and it shrinks. It just comes down into nothing. Like this whole time, I want to be awash in a sea of epic vocals. I want to be the Maxell guy in the chair with my head being blown away by the sound. Just ensconced in the pipes of the giantess. And it's just not happening.
Right. And it was like that throughout the entire album.
It was.
You know, I just don't know. I mean, to me, that's the big takeaway from this. Like, so let's talk about negative stuff first. So if you just skip to the end of this video to hear our overall thoughts, it's not going to be very good because her vocals are too low. And what we do here on the channel, if you skipped everything to just the very end, is we focus on production stuff here. And sometimes we hear things that confuse us or that just aren't to our taste. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes we hear things that are wrong. And unfortunately, that's what happened with this album. The volume of the vocals throughout the entire album are wrong. And I'm not just saying they're too low. I'm saying they are incorrectly, they are the incorrect volume. What would you say?
They are incorrectly prioritized.
Yeah. Yes, they are. Yeah. And you can tell, when at the beginning I was talking about how I thought it was maybe mastering and bringing the sides up, which tamped the middle down. That was me trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. But the more we go on, the more I'm like, no, for whatever reason. Now, at the last track there, I did say, what if all the vocals were bounced down to a stereo track? And then they had to compress the stereo track. And so, like, and I'm talking all the choir vocals, everything.
Which is something I don't really know much about.
Well,
the concept of doing that.
It wouldn't.
But like when you say all the vocals, like how many tracks of vocals are we talking about? How many different people are we talking about?
It could be a lot. It could be 100 vocal tracks. But in most cases, I would think it would be just like Floor's main lead vocal, Floor's harmony vocals. Anything Floor did, at the very least, is on like Floor's vocal track. And it's a stereo track because some of her vocals were recorded and mixed left and right. And so they just put too much compression on her vocal track. And what happened was every time more vocal parts came in, it caused everything to get sucked down. Everything, including her main vocal. That's one way I could have seen this happening. Now, even if that was the case, it's still done wrongly enough that I think that it was someone's choice to make the vocals this quiet. Someone screwed up in somewhere along the line and made the decision. And maybe we'll read stuff online about this. Maybe I'll watch those videos and they'll be like, we're going to prioritize the music this time and all this stuff. And that's fine. That's all great. But it's total BS. Because there's a right and a wrong way that 100%. There's a right and a wrong way to mix things. And if you mix them wrong, objectively wrong, like this was, it's just wrong.
And it sucks because when it comes to so many different elements of music and sound, at the end of the day, it's overwhelmingly subjective, whether or not you like something, whether or not it sounds good. Like, especially that's like one of the key elements of sound design is like there are no rules. You just need to make whatever you're making sound good. And how you get there is anybody's game. You can do whatever you want. But when it comes to mixing, I feel like that there is a very real objectivity involved. Like you can set rules for mixing and follow them and because otherwise, what's the point of having X, Y, and Z if Y vanishes? Like why, what is the point of include, like if you're including elements, you would want to be able to hear all of them, or else why would you include them? And if your mix doesn't allow you to get to those elements, within reason, like, the whole problem that we've talked about before of like mixing for laptop speakers or something, where you're not going to be able to get whatever you need out of it, or TV speakers especially are trash. But within reason, if you're putting elements in, you want them to be able to be taken back out by people when they're listening to it. And if that's not how it goes out the door, then something went wrong.
Yes, and I want to say too, like there's more than one way to mix this album correctly. In fact, there's probably an infinite number of ways to mix this album correctly. This album could have sounded so different in an infinite number of ways.
Right.
And they chose to make it sound like this, and that's fine. And the thing is, I think that for the most part, I think it does sound really good. I think it is overcompressed a little bit at the beginning, and that doesn't bother me as much towards the end when the heavy stuff came back a little bit. But like, even the overcompression and stuff can still be. I can get over that and stuff much easier because this song still felt big. I could still hear the kick drum. I could still feel what I was supposed to feel. But the vocals were just lost throughout the entire album. I say this all the time. You shouldn't have to reach into the song to try to pull out the focal point of the song.
Yes.
You should not have to do that. And I understand maybe someone's sitting there going, no, we want to make the conscious decision to make other things than the vocals the focal point of this. That's fine, but that's not what the arrangement of the song is. There's a lead vocal there. And traditionally, structure-wise, with everything this band has ever recorded before, the vocal element is the lead element of the song. And in almost every other Nightwish recording, we mentioned this earlier, the kick, the snare, and the vocals are pretty much the same volume, within reason. And the kick and the snare were way louder than the vocals, and that is just unacceptable. And
if I went and saw them live, and this was the mix, what do you call it when you proportionate something like if this was the mix distribution that I got at a live show, I would not tell people that show sounded good.
Yeah, it would feel like they were hiding. If she was sick that day and they were hiding her vocals.
Yeah, you'd be like, it's a shame we couldn't hear her better.
Yeah,
you'd go to the shows like it sounded pretty good, but I wish that we could have heard her better. She was kind of lost.
I wish she was more focused on. Yeah, 100%. And this is inexcusable, in my opinion, for a band this big who clearly put so much effort into making this sound good. This is the same thing that happened with Diablo Swing Orchestra. And you and I have had this conversation before, Chris. Like, what's worse? To me, them having all the elements here and just doing one thing wrong is so more egregiously worse than if they'd have just written an album of 12 bad songs.
That sounded incredible.
Yeah, that sounded great. Like just boring bad songs or songs that just didn't feel like Nightwish or whatever. I would be way more okay with that than just having all the potential in the world and ruining it by taking one of the fundamental core aspects of the music and just deciding that it wasn't important enough to be able to have us clearly hear it throughout the entire album.
And one of the bummers of that is it's 99.9% of people they're not part of what we do. They're not, right. The old adage is that we are only ever just making sounds for ourselves, for each other, because people just don't know enough about audio. And I could give you a half hour right now of grievances about the place that audio has in the mindset of most people, including people who from a career perspective in game design, where it's like you've got an entire team of people making games who have never even considered that audio was a thing. And then you come in at the last minute, you don't have enough time, you make a bunch of turds, and then everybody hates it. And there's so much to that. And so it's like, what good is any of what we're complaining about going to do?
Nothing. And that's the
Right.
frustrating
and
part.
it's a bummer. Yeah, it's a bummer.
And you know what that makes me think of? Metallica's original release of Death Magnetic won a frickin' Grammy.
Yes, what a beautiful example.
And that's one of the worst sounding things that's ever been released professionally by anyone.
Nobody cares about audio.
It's
And
unacceptable.
not because they don't want to care, but because I've thought about this a lot. And one of the things I may have even said this on here before, but like audio is kind of the only sense that you have no ability to shut off. And so you just have like this thing that you don't recognize as being an element of life. Like you can see, you can close your eyes, and now it's like, oh, I know what it's like now to not be able to see. And like you can put your fingers in your ears or whatever, but you can always still sort of hear. And, you know, it's like, it's really difficult to get the perspective required to appreciate audio from the perspective of not being able to shut off the thing that allows you to hear stuff. But I mean, there's plenty of other thoughts that I've had as to why the sound and the way things sound don't register with people like everything else. I mean, obviously, you know, we're very vision driven people, you know, animals as well. So that's another piece of it. But yeah, it's really, it's just crazy. It's the dark hell of being in audio in a way where it's like, on the one hand, you're in audio and you're making a living out of it or doing whatever you're doing, and that's rad. Like, it's a super sexy kind of place to be in professionally. And it's interestingly enough, this is getting a little bit into the weeds, but audio people, like, nobody recognizes audio for what it is until you start talking to an audio person at a party. Like, engineers and videographers and stuff, like VFX guys are pretty cool in a way, in the same kind of way, but like all of the people that everybody think of when you're talking about making games, which is the direction I'm going to go because this is the place that I live.
Sure.
Or it's like, you know, the visuals and the mechanics and all that stuff, like all that stuff is the most prominent in terms of what people recognize about how to play games. But you don't want to talk to an engineer at a party because you're not going to have any idea what they're telling you when they talk about like subsac engineering and multiplayer functions and all this other mess. And it's like, but when you hear someone talk about how, you know, they waved this thing in front of this thing with electricity and, you know, shook this and all that, and like, that's how I made these droids. And it's like, that's super cool. Like, that's the most fun you'll have, talking about how something gets made. And it's just a really interesting sort of contrast of like, here's the thing that nobody cares about is also the coolest thing that anybody's ever heard about. And I think because of one, you will get the other. But yeah, I don't know. I just, ultimately, I think that the hardest part about the position that we've taken here with this album is that so many people are not going to be able to recognize it as the problem that it is for people who care about it the most. And I would and it's a bummer to imagine all the negative comments you'll get because you've effectively said this album is bad, which it's not. Well, don't you dare edit that out. But like, here on the Audio Engineers React channel, this particular problem holds a lot more weight because that's what we're doing here.
Right. Okay, so let's cut from that, and I want to talk about some positives real quick.
Yeah.
So for me, the positives here were, I felt like this album was having more fun. Across the board, there was like heavy fun moments at the beginning where I was like, oh yeah, we're really rocking here. This is pretty cool. And then there were a lot of cool these orchestral moments were reminding me a little bit at times of their album Once, which I think is maybe some of their best orchestral implementation into the metal stuff. And I think the guitar riffs were interesting throughout. I think the guitars sounded pretty good throughout. I think the drums sounded really fantastic throughout, in my opinion. I was not bothered by the hi-hat or any of the cymbals as much.
Right. And they sounded really good. Like, the highs were all there. It was super bright. They really didn't ever get lost. They were huge. They were probably too big. Like we said,
Right.
in terms of balance, the drums were a little hot, but you said that that's something that's common for Nightwish, so that's fine too.
It is, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And really, it was just the positioning that I found, at the very least, distracting.
Right.
But,
and for me, that didn't bother me as much because I'm pretty like we realized they did that to have as much space as possible in the middle so that they could then futz it up and ruin the volumes of stuff. But like if you took the vocals away from this, I think the instrumental mixes would sound really great. I think
really they're gonna. If they do release that, it's gonna be
that's
awesome.
the thing that's like that shouldn't be the case, man. That should not be the case.
With so many bands, like the vocals are they're really always the focal point of music. Like any music with vocals, you're gonna want to make them priority number one. But even with my extremely limited exposure to Nightwish, like we're talking about eras, and each one of them is tied to a vocalist. Mm-hmm. Like the vocalist for Nightwish seems to be an incredibly huge deal, and Floor is an incredibly huge woman in every capacity. Like she's the giantess. She's got this amazing range and capability, and her voice is crazy, and she's just a really big deal. And it's like, why wouldn't this big deal stacked on top of a big deal be a big deal? Like it's always hidden in here, and it's a strange thing to hear.
And I'm not saying that the vocals should be too loud. Like I've listened to stuff too where I've been like, the vocals are too loud here, whole thing's ruined. Like I'm not saying that, but there is an acceptable pocket, and then generally you go like a couple dB above that, couple dB below that, you're within that acceptable pocket. If you you find the absolute perfect volume, and then you can go a couple dB above, like maybe
I thought about that earlier, because it's like these. Not only are these quiet, they fall below the bottom of the pocket. Like it's
yes, they're definitely below the bottom of the acceptable pocket. But okay, so I still want to talk about some positives. I think the fun aspect really showed through with a lot of the like all the bridges of the songs, or when the songs got halfway through and then they kind of changed into something different. I mentioned all those vocal arrangements that were really cool. Part of me wonders if that was a combination, if that was Thomas, or if that was a combination of Thomas and Troy and Floor doing some weird stuff. Like, I think that's cool. You know, I mentioned, and those are the parts where it almost felt like the choir vocals were doing like more of effects rather than vocal parts, which is really nice. And I think that people would probably be surprised how many elements were Thomas actually playing on the keyboard. But then I would also probably be surprised how many elements were actually recorded at Abbey Road Studios, you know?
Yeah.
Just because it says that they recorded, you had 1,069 takes. Well, first of all, that's not a good number. You have 12 songs. You could have had 12 takes with the whole orchestra. You know what I mean? Like, now the thing is, they're saying like, we recorded the violin here on this day for this many times, and we recorded the whole orchestra this day this many times, and all this stuff. So, but like the number of takes, the more you have, that shouldn't be the like, look at this, look at how much it took us to record this. Now I understand too, though, that like if you have 1,000 instruments come in and each one gets a take, there you go, you know. So it's like, I understand the enormity of what they're doing, but I also know that probably a lot of that stuff wasn't super necessary. But I still think that all that stuff sounded really great. I think that every time Troy was singing, I really enjoyed, which I would not have thought would be the case. Because to me, Troy has been the one that has kind of come in, and since he's come into the band, I was never going to say, and I still don't think it's the case, that like Troy is the reason that I don't care for Nightwish as much anymore. But I kind of felt like whether it was his influence there, him being there influencing Thomas to write music a particular way, or him and his instrument set having Thomas be like, well, let's take advantage of this guy. What can you do? Okay, I'll incorporate that stuff more. Or if it was more just like, this is the direction I want to take Nightwish now. We're going to take these people, what their strengths are, and we're going to kind of shift focus and go more towards what they can do great. Whatever the reason, whatever happened, I definitely have enjoyed Nightwish a little less since Troy and Floor joined the band. And I think that's probably most likely due to a conscious decision on Thomas's part to kind of shift the direction of what they were trying to do, and also trying to, like I said, feature these people as well as he can. But I am shocked to say on this album, I thought all Troy's stuff was really great. I think that unfortunately his lead instruments were also really kind of pushed down and tamped down. I don't know why all the lead stuff, there were times where you were saying like, should that be louder? Like it was a thing on the side. And then another thing would come in on the other side and be balanced. It never felt like anything was being featured. It always felt like every single thing you were hearing was trying to be like a part of the entire thing, rather than anything ever being a featured sound. And that's not how good mixing is just done. You're supposed to automate things so that certain things are featured at certain times and certain things are more obvious at certain times. And it just never felt that way with really any of the instrumentation, really at all. Yeah. And especially in that first song with that guitar solo, it was just like, that was terrible. You couldn't even tell the guitar solo was there. And I've heard that in other albums too. And I'm just like, what on earth? Why is this happening? What happened? Who made the decision that led to this? So sorry, that was negative, really negative again. But I do want to say, like, a lot of the vocal parts I do think would stick with me if I could have heard them. So I definitely enjoyed the songwriting on this album much more than their two previous albums, like a lot more. Even that includes the song structuring that was much more progressive, in that most of the songs kind of had like half of a song, verse, chorus, and then you were halfway through the song, and then it changed into something kind of completely different, and it never really went back to that first part again. That's fine. They've been doing that a little bit more recently over the last two albums. And I really liked where everything went in that second half of the songs. That was where we got all the experimentation, the crazy sounds. Before that, everything was a little bit more straightforward, and I enjoy those parts a lot, but it was when things got a little crazy, more orchestral, more whatever, that I enjoyed that stuff. So I do think that songwriting, the songs on this album, I think I would say that I enjoyed more than their two previous albums. And if I were to say, like, my favorite songs, I really loved The Day Of. I thought that was a special song. That one was totally different. And then when we got to Sway was really nice and something different from Perfume of the Timeless. And then Children of Atta was the one, that dancey one that then got big. Yeah, that was nice. Spider Silk was nice as well. Something Whispered Follow Me was good. Like, honestly, the second, from track 4 on, I really enjoyed everything we were hearing. And then the first track was fine because it was like building into it, and then the second two tracks were good songs as well. I'm not hating those songs by any means, but I just don't think that they were as good as the rest of the album, especially in the way they were mixed, because they were a little heavier, I think. But like, Nightwish has done heavy in the past and it sounded fantastic. Nightwish has done everything a band can do in the past, and it's always sounded better than we've heard here, because of the volume of the vocals and the compression issues we were having, especially on those first two tracks. Really were like, the low frequencies were just felt so untamed, and just building so much. And that was when I was saying, like, I almost wonder if we listened to this album on some crappy speakers, like, would you almost get a better feeling for what the mix should sound like?
Yeah, I think that you might. The vocal that'd be interesting to try out, because the vocals would definitely stand out more, and I think it might just be by virtue of losing so much low end, which is so much of.
Yeah, and I definitely think after Perfume of the Timeless, the album sounded sonically mixed much better. The low frequencies felt more contained and more managed well. They were managed much better, and nothing really felt too overcompressed to me after that point. And then the really heavy stuff that happened on the Weave, I thought that sounded phenomenal, and so like, that was great. And so that was, it's just such a bummer, because I feel like I really would have been over the moon about this, like freaking out about how much I loved what I was hearing, but the vocals are just so disappointing. And that's going to be what I take away from this.
I would give anything for not just this album, but any album where we have no choice but to sit and speculate about why something that seems egregiously off is that way. Like, I would kill to get the engineer who mixed it on the show and to just question them until they call the police. Like, I just want to know. and it's not in the sense that I'm like looking to grill anybody or point fingers or start a fire. I'm so curious about all of the elements that I don't know by virtue of not being in this space. Like I wasn't part of this project. I don't know, and especially with how little I know about professional music mixing and mastering and producing and stuff, like it would all be a masterclass in just hearing what it takes to make something sound the way that it should, and what kind of obstacles come up that make it not.
Right, and especially this, which is possibly like the most complex thing you can have. It's the most complex classical recording technique possible, plus very complex metal technique possible, plus all these vocals, and putting all that stuff together. We've talked before in the past about how you have to sacrifice certain things, certain frequencies to get certain things to stand out. Do you want to prioritize the metal? Do you want to prioritize this? Like, there's other ways this album could have been incorrect and made me frustrated, but this is the worst thing that you can do on an album, is to have the vocals be low. We've talked about this recently on other albums that were disappointing to us.
If only because it seems like one of the lowest hanging fruit possible in a mix. Like, I don't know 99% of what it takes to make an album, like especially this type of music recorded with this many elements, sound anything close to good. But at the very least, like, I am aware of, here's the faders of all of the music, and here's the faders for the vocals, and you just like, it can't be. How much more complicated can it be than that? I'm not sure. Probably lots, because it seems like if it's that easy, I'm certainly not the first person to think of it, but that's why I want to know what happens with stuff like this.
You're right. I think it would be much more complicated than that, but at the end of the day,
that's the job.
Doing what you just did would have fixed a lot of the issues.
I know. And I just don't know how to think of it otherwise.
I know. It's very disappointing. All right. Well, we're going to end it there. This is going to be a really long video, and that's fine. I wanted to do this justice. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Please leave your comments, no matter how negative or positive they are.
Don't hold back on the positive ones.
All I will say is, if you're watching the end of this, you probably did watch a majority of the video. I hope you understand where we're coming from with things. We really pride ourselves here on trying to explain our opinions. It's something a lot of people have trouble with. In everyday life, no matter what. Like, why do you prefer an apple over an orange?
Yeah.
Why? Why? When did you make that decision, and why?
With my sister, when she sees movies and stuff, especially things that I'm looking forward to seeing, and she gets to it first, I'm like, oh, how was it? Good. And I liked it. All right.
I know. Most people just don't think of things that way, and that's fine. It's absolutely
I think there's
fine.
a certain, there's a lot of education required in knowing how to articulate the elements of something that you
100%.
like. Like, it's just how it is.
100%. And you and I have been honing this particular way of looking at things for many years.
Yeah.
And so again, I don't know everything about everything. I'm not some mastering engineer, like incredible, anything, but it's like, we do know enough to be like, there's something wrong here that I can say pretty confidently is wrong, instead of just not in my opinion bad, but just like something's wrong here. So
what was it 2012 when you asked me why I liked that Under the Influence of Giants album? I still don't have an answer. That's what started this whole thing.
Yeah, but I mean, I bet we could have a 2-hour conversation on why now, though.
We could certainly try.
Absolutely. All right, we'll end the video there. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Hopefully, we'll get to do some more Nightwish stuff coming soon. If Cody and Audrey don't want to do it anymore, I'm not going to force them. Maybe, Chris, you and I could just do a couple things that I think you would really find interesting. I really want you particular, and maybe Cody, to listen to Poet and the Pendulum. It's just one of the best Nightwish songs, and just like, there's so much meaning behind it. And if in that song, for sure, we would like read the lyrics first. We would talk about what happened with the breakup between Nightwish and everything, what that song's about. And then we would talk about, like, let's watch how the musicians react during the different parts of the song. Where do they go on stage in relation to what they're playing? What's this act of the song supposed to be like? We would get really deep into the weeds on that, because when I watched reactions of people doing that, I was like, wow. This is like making me love this song more than I ever I'm like going way deeper into this than anything I ever thought about doing before. And so I would really love to do that with you and maybe Cody. And if Audrey would still want to do it, I think she would really appreciate it. But anyway, you know, I do want to do some more things. I really do think the Best Sangers performance of Phantom of the Opera with Floor and Hank Port is like one of the greatest musical performances I've ever seen. If you guys seem to like Floor, especially you, Chris, I would have a session where we go through and listen to like all 4 or 5 of her performances from that show, doing different genres of music. She does like a Spanish flamenco song. Cool. She does that Lady Gaga song. I'm off the deep end, out of the mind, shana na 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 na. Whatever that song is from that movie she did that we were, you know, she does that song. She does so many things that are just absolutely incredible, and it's like, every one of those performances is worth a watch, you know, but we could do so many things. And I'd love for you to hear Annette. You know, we could literally watch a video where we hear a live.
Because we've done the other one.
Right. You've never heard Annette, though. But we could literally watch a video where we hear a live performance, like a professional recording of Floor, Taria, and Annette all performing the same song.
That'd be cool. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, 100%. So it all just depends on if people want to keep watching us. So let us know in the comments. Thank you, everybody, so much, and we will see you all next time.